What's up, everybody? It's your boy Isaac Saiz,
Elijah Hard,
coming to you with another episode of Get Con, where we try to con you into some change.
not out of some change.
Man, what's up with everybody out there, man? We just sitting here chilling, enjoying the night. Just got out of sweat a little while ago, relaxing, nice and cool breeze outside. Thought we'd come in this week, man, and hit you guys with what we've been studying on this week in our trauma class. That we share with you guys. So we focus on this week. We focus on neglect and attachment. Neglect from as a child. This one kind of stood out to me a lot too because the way I was raised and the way like a lot of people was raised that I grew up with, you know what I mean, in our communities. So it kind of shocked me to see a lot of the ways we was brought up was backwards as far as, you know, the development of a child's brain and stuff. So check this out. This is how this dude breaks this down. This doctor breaks this down, right? So you have a baby. They did this little video, right? So I wish we could show the video on here, but they do this video to prove a point, to show something. So they have the parent come in as babies. You know, we're not able to speak for ourselves. So what we do is we find other ways to try to communicate and relate to each other. So, you know, a baby, you know how babies are. They make little noises, you know, point their little finger, smile at you or whatever. So what they did in this video was they had the mom come in and interact with the baby. Regular stuff, you know what I mean? The baby smiles at the mom smiles back, grabs the little baby's hands and play with it. The baby points and, you know, the mom's like, oh, wow, you know what I mean? Do little baby talk, you know what I mean? All that little stuff. So that's soothing and comforting for a child, and that's their way of interacting, and, you know what I mean? They're able to regulate their emotions in that way. So then they had the mom come in and do the opposite. When the baby was trying to smile or show any type of, you know, trying to communicate, the mom completely just dead face. No interaction, no nothing. And you see the child trying to, you know, laugh, trying to say a little something, trying to smile, trying to point at the mom or, you know, trying to yell to get her attention, and the mom's still just blank face. So you start to see the child's brain change to where now the child starts to panic. So this is just a natural instinct for us as kids, as babies, to go into survival mode. So the brain starts getting flooded with all the cortisol, you know, all the stuff that we've been talking about as far as, you know, when you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Well, that starts flooding the baby's brain, and the baby starts panicking, and then the baby starts crying and starts kicking in, you know, just going crazy. So that's to show that as kids we need to be comforted by our parents, by our caregivers, or whoever's there, you know, taking care of you at the time. And why that stood out to me, because in my household, hey, we came up with where, like, I don't know, my mom and them was more, hey, don't cry. Hey, put him in the corner if he's crying, but let him go cry by himself. Let him cry it out, you know what I mean? Like, making us tough, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to all that, and it's crazy, you know what I mean? Because after watching that and reading that and looking at that, you know what I mean, I laughed to myself because, dang, man, I was panicking. You know what I mean? As a little guy, I was running around panicking, trying to get some attention, you know what I mean? But growing up with 5 other brothers in my household with a single mom, you know what I mean, trying to get that attention, you know what I mean? Like, looking back on it now, I can see the effects of the neglect from my mom, you know what I mean, and trying to seek that from people around me, just trying to grab that attention that I needed, trying to grab that comfort that I needed to feel safe, you know what I mean? So in order to see all that, you know what I mean, opened up my eyes and, you know what I mean, it made me realize the things that I was doing in my life too, though, you know what I mean? It made me realize the things that I was doing to my kids when I was growing up, you know what I mean? Like, not giving them attention that they needed, you know what I mean? I was assuming that they were good, they were all right, you know what I mean? But, you know, not really seeing what's going on the inside, just seeing what's going on the outside, you know, so.
Yeah, what's crazy about it, because, like I said, I grew up like that. My uncles, you know what I mean, punch us up, you know what I mean, if we try to cry or any of that kind of stuff. So what that does, they say, is like it keeps your brain from being able to form your nerves. Like it doesn't form those connections to the like different parts of the brain. So you're not even developing like the things you need in order to, you know, just basically self-regulate your emotions and go through things like that. So it's changing the architecture of your brain from early on in life, and then it's like releasing that stress hormone and all that stuff. So a child's brain is already getting traumatized as a baby. You know what I mean? Like we're already being traumatized, not even realizing that like our brain is going through something that it shouldn't be, because it should just be natural. You know what I mean? For us to have somebody that's, you know, they see us going through whatever, they comfort us, boom, boom, boom. And that's what it is. But you know, not blaming none of our parents, because that's what they was taught too. You know what I mean? They went through the same kind of cycle of this is how you raise a kid or whatever. And then 9 times out of 10, like me too, look, like I have four other brothers. You know what I mean? So it's 5 of us all together in the house, and single parent mom. So my mom is stressed. She's, you know, doing this, coming here. I got one brother crying, another 2 other brothers are fighting in the room. You know what I mean? And how often do we see that? You know what I mean? Just kids going crazy. So the mom's trying to deal with all this and deal with work. So naturally she's stressed out too, so she ain't in the, you know, regular headset of mind and just, okay, let me come cuddle you, let me come soothe you, and then I'm gonna soothe his little bad butt because he over here acting up, you know what I mean? So she trying to run all crazy. So it's understandable that they wasn't able to give that to us, and even now, like I see that now with, I was like that, you know what I mean? Being that way with my oldest son and like trying to toughen him up, like no, leave him alone, let him cry, he's gonna be all right. You know, you ain't gotta baby him, quit trying to baby him, because that's how I viewed it. But now looking at it this way, it's like, man, that's the complete opposite of what we should be doing. Not that we're making them weak, but it's just that we're helping their brains develop in a natural way that they're supposed to be developed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you on that. You know what I mean? It's funny because, you know what I mean, we see, like me personally, like I see like some of these movies, I watch some of these commercials, like, oh, little baby crying, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? They go over there and automatically soothe them, pick them up. And in my mind, I'm like, man, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Just because, like brother was saying here, that's what we became accustomed to. You know what I mean? That's how we was raised. You know, we was raised to be tough. We was raised to be whatever. You know what I mean? Not give that kind of attention, or not give that kind of emotion or anything like that. So to better understand it, better grasp it, like our brother's saying here and our brother's pointing out, like it's cool. It's cool in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's never too late to give that, you know, give it back to the little ones out there now. You know what I mean? Like the oldest ones that I got now, 20, 21. You know what I mean? Like, but I could still make a lot of time for all them, for the neglect that I've done, the neglect that I've passed on to them. You know what I mean? Just because, like my mom, I understood that it was like brother was saying here, like it was hard for my mom because she was a single mom trying to raise, you know, 5 boys, you know, in an alcoholic home. You know what I mean? And trying to cater to each and every one of our needs. I understand it was tough, and I understand it was hard. So I was kind of like more of the quiet one, like put off to the side, like, oh no. And when it came time for me to be like, hey mom, yeah, you know what I mean, can you help me out with this or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I pushed it off to the side. I pushed my own needs off to the side because I didn't want to be a burden to my mom. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be that burden to her already stressful life. You know, so growing up that way wasn't the healthiest, but again, at the same time, you know what I mean, it's just like I've learned to be more reserved with them things and thoughts and whatever. But you know, reading and doing this lesson, you know what I mean, opened up my eyes to see a lot of the dysfunction in me. You know what I mean, like the attachments that they talk about, the attachments in there, like mine, I automatically could relate to the disorganized attachment. You know what I mean, like just because I didn't allow people to get close to me, just because I didn't feel safe. You know what I mean, and it's bad to say because like I felt like unsafe in my own home, even though I was around my people. You know what I mean? Even though I was around my brothers, even though I was around my mom and whatnot. You know what I mean? I didn't feel safe because of the household and the environment that I was in. You know what I mean? Like the alcoholic environment, all that. You know what I mean? The fighting and hollering and hooting and all that. You know what I mean? So, and nobody really paid attention to the kids in that environment when there was alcohol involved. You know what I mean? Like nobody cared that my little brother was crying over in the corner because either one, he was dirty, or either two, he was hungry, or just three, you know what I mean? Like he needed that attention from his mom, but he was pushed off into the corner because of the alcoholism. And for me to see that made me realize that, you know, that wasn't the healthiest, but at the same time, it was a norm growing up. You know, it was a norm to see that. It was a norm to go over there and be like, hey, what are you crying for? You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Or give him something so he can go play in the corner and then take off because you don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, and we still see the effects of that today. And like I said, it goes in there and it goes on a different type of things, how it affects you, you know what I mean, and the way you interact with people, because our brains wasn't developed properly, so we didn't really develop those social skills. But it talks about it too, like not just your family. So you go through that with your family and households, but imagine the kids that grow up in like orphanages or group homes, and they're really not getting no type of love or no type of like caregivers really sitting there and really bonding with them because there's so many kids that they got to deal with. You're just another kid, you're another number. You know what I mean? And we grow up learning how to, like they say, it's self-regulate, but you're just isolating yourself, and that's what they say. It develops a lack of connection to yourself, a lack of connection to people around you, to society. So you begin to isolate, and the more you isolate, as we all know, you know what I mean, the more dangerous it gets because now you're just stuck in your mind. And there's a whole list of things that they go down the list. You know what I mean? You can go down and see like which one applies to you and how it affected you. Like some of them are like just like spacing out, and I remember doing that a lot as a kid. Like that's a defense mechanism too. When you're going through all this trauma and you're going through not having nobody care for you, you're like spaced off because you're like in another world. But that's your brain trying to like protect itself. And I noticed that too with my oldest son too. He was like that a lot with the stuff that he was seeing in the household. And I was like, hey man, you're airheaded. But we laughed it off like, hey, old airhead. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the men in my family have been like that, and that's been their way of protecting themselves. So even I remember my uncle was like that, and they're like everybody just laugh about it. You know what I mean? It's something funny, but that's actually a result of growing up through trauma like that. But there are what did it say the four S's or what was that?
Yeah, we got they talk about the four S's.
What a child actually needs.
What a child actually needs in a functioning home where they can receive this is the first one is seen. What this means, yeah. What this means is that the child starting from infancy needs to have their inner mental life attended to by a caregiver. What's the feeling when someone actually sees your emotion and your memories are what you're thinking are the meaning of something for you. You know what I mean? That's seen. You know what I mean? So I mean the next one is
Okay, so all four of them total are seen, being soothed, safety, and security. So I'll go over the soothe one because we'll just trade back and forth. This means that if a child is distressed, the parent or caregiver is going to do something. Not only see what is going on, but actually carrying out an action that helps the child feel better. So the child goes from a state of distress, which can show up as chaotic explosion or rigid shutdown, to a quieter, calmer state. The child learns that even though they may experience stress in life, they can overcome it easily. The child learns self-regulation based on these relational experiences because being soothed as a child literally changes the structure of the brain. Soothing relationships in adolescence and adulthood can also do this, helping to integrate the way different parts of the brains are linked.
and then the third one is safety. The whole attachment system is designed to protect the child. There are two kinds of safety. One is that we are protected from harm. The other is that we, as the parents, are not the source of terror. Unfortunately, somewhere between 5 and 15% of non-clinical U.S. population has an experience with a caregiver where the caregiver is terrifying them. Now you may say, of course, what happens with abuse or neglect, but even when there's no abuse or neglect, if someone comes home and is raging in another room, it terrifies the child anyway.
I'm not supposed to laugh at you reading, not being able to read, because that's actually a symptom of it too. Oh, dumb man. All right, then the last one, the fourth one is security. Secure attachment is a kind of vaccination. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it's kind of a vaccination that supports the development of resilience. It says every early relationships shape the structure of a child's brain in a way that forms a foundation, like a building. So if the foundation is strong, we'll be strong no matter what storms happen to come. Okay, so and understanding those things, those are how us as parents now can give back to our child and like step out of ourselves when we're stressed and you have that conscious decision to say, okay, I don't know if you're gonna actually remember seeing, soothe, safety, and security, but at least give yourself enough time to take a step back and realize, hey, I'm mad, I'm stressed, or whatever feelings you're going through, and not take it out on the child, because now you're passing that trauma to the child. You're passing that generational trauma. You know what I mean? And what a child needs to, be able to break that, they have to get that feeling from you. Because remember you were talking about that earlier, like how a parent gives it to.
Yeah, I was talking about the or you know what I mean? Yeah, talking about. Sorry about that, but on a side note, I just wanted to share this too. Um, the doctor that was teaches this class, you know what I mean, says that if people only pay attention to their outer behavior, they aren't seeing what's going on the inside. And then about 20% of the population in the U.S. at least has parents who don't see their children. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? That's wild because it's true. I'm only talking from experience for myself. That you know what I mean? Like I could see that my mom did her best. Like I'm just gonna circle back real quick. My mom did her best raising us, but at the same time, like she didn't really see what was going on in all of her kids. You know what I mean? And that's maybe because for one, like we didn't know how to express it. We didn't know how to do all that. You know what I mean? And two, you know what I mean? Like maybe my mom wasn't ready for all that. Like you said, you know what I mean? Like our parents grew up in a different era. You know what I mean? Where people wasn't really aware of any of all this. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of our elders, how they were raised, they weren't raised in their own homes. You know what I mean? They were raised in like boarding schools and all that. You know what I mean? So.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I was saying about how you were talking about too, about how the child is maybe crying or whatever because they're hungry, but then the mom comes in stressed, and now she's yelling at the kid, and now the kid's going from just a normal need to now they're panicked and stressed because they're feeling the mom's energy or dad, vice versa. But yeah, okay. So before we get ready to get out of here, because they're getting on there. So there's another thing too that was at the end of this. It's called attachment and authenticity. So it says people have two needs: attachment and authenticity. Attachment is having contact, having connection, love, belonging, trust, safety. But also with that is being authentic, being able to be your true self. And that's something else that stood out to me too, because they say you can grow up in a household where maybe you got parents that are dealing with their own stuff or whatever, and they're treating you a certain way, like how I said, you're crying, so now you're weak, so you can't be your true self, and you learn to go through life hiding your true self or hiding your true emotions. And as we grow up, we begin to adapt that. And I noticed it a lot in my life, and I noticed a lot in the gang life. But it's not just control to gang life only, but it happens a lot in gang life where you start wearing these masks and you start trying to be somebody you're not because you want that acceptance, you want to fit in, you want to feel cool, feel like you're connected to somebody in life, and that happens a lot in here. So as we get older, you know what I mean, if we stay in those ways, you see, like, it's hard to maintain relationships. It's hard to maintain friendships because we're not being our true selves. Like, we go around here just being fake and trying to fit in, and then you realize, like, you really don't fit in with these people because that's not who you really are.
Yeah, I can agree with that 100%. You know what I mean? Because, growing up, being something that you ain't for the longest time, but now as we get older, we can see that, and we can see that generational, you know what I mean? Like, what is it again, bro? I keep forgetting, man. I'm sorry, man. My mind is a little scattered right now, but you know what I mean? I just got a lot of things that, yeah. We're trying to break all that. You know what I mean? With my son right now, I'm trying to break that with him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to break everything that I've ever taught him, because everything that I ever taught him was negative. You know what I mean? Was all just,
You have 1 minute remaining.
With him, you know what I mean? But, tonight's topic was great. Tonight's topic was good. You know what I mean? Neglect, it hit hard just because I know there's a lot of homes out there right now in my community that deal with this, that suffer with it, you know what I mean? That go through it, and they just don't know how to grasp it or get a hold of it or how to deal with it, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me. I want to read this before we go to though. But it just says, rejection of our true selves can come because of the threat of physical harm, mockery, physical harm. When your mom beating that ass. yeah. But that's what's crazy about the mockery though too, because I remember growing up, and that's just how we was, like as a family. You know what I mean? We'd clown each other. You know what I mean? Put each other down. Like if we didn't clown you, that means basically we didn't mess with you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird, but all the ways we're growing up was the opposite of what a child needs and stuff. But all right, so it said mockery or shaming, disapproval, simply because you're from a lack of acknowledgement or affirmation by others. Maybe we train ourselves not to cry or to be angry because we do not feel accepted when we express these true emotions. Maybe we see a sibling being praised or getting attention for good grades, so academics becomes our focus when our true spirit would rather pursue music or art. As adults, we suffer. As adults, we suffer because we want to be ourselves, but fear that being ourselves will cause us to lose important attachment relationships. So yeah, I can see that too. As far as like you don't want to lose relationships. I remember being with certain girls, you know what I mean, and I would become so attached to them that I would be who I think they wanted me to be because I didn't want to lose that relationship. I was so scared to lose that relationship because of having them attachment issues. You know what I mean? Being able to feel like my world's gonna crumble if I don't have this person in my life, not knowing it was probably best if I got rid of that person. You know who you are. No, but you know what I mean? But a lot of us go through relationships like that. You know, go through things that are bad for us, but we hold on to them because we have attachment issues. You got daddy issues. But
But yeah, I mean, that's 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my first relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to hold on to that thing so bad. You know what I mean? Like, I changed who I was, and for the bad, for the worse. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really much of an alcoholic. Then I started hanging. You know what I mean? Being in this relationship, and I turned into an alcoholic even more. You know what I mean? Just because I wanted to be with this person so bad, and that was the love that I was seeking, though. That was what I was seeking in my household that I was missing, and I was getting it from her. So I did everything in my world to hold on to it, you know what I mean? And not knowing that, you know, like bro said, you know what I mean, that was probably the best thing in my life was to do was to let go, you know, and that was probably the best thing come about, you know what I mean? But being in that relationship made me be in other toxic relationships, you know what I mean? Because I was searching for certain things, and I could never get it. So being in these relationships was the worst thing, you know what I mean? So,
hey, I remember nights being on that phone, like, man, going through it, and then you know you can't call back, so you're really going through it, like, oh, man, panicking, wondering what they doing, if they cheating on you. And in a healthy relationship, that ain't even things you got to think about, because you know they're faithful to you, you're faithful to them, blah, blah, blah. But when you're going through all this stuff, your mind starts turning, and all the issues and all the abuse that you've been through starts to, you know, show its face again. And that's where we got to get to that point where we can heal from that, so that we can have healthy relationships, not only with, you know, our significant others, you know, or guys, girls, whatever, but our children, you know what I mean, our families. That's how we begin to heal ourselves and our communities, because, you know, I say heal people, heal people. But, yeah, we got to get up out of here, man. Just want to share a little bit of that with y'all. Hopefully soon y'all can see us actually in class and being able, you know what I mean, when we're in our little mode, our little teacher mode, you know what I mean. But, yeah, we're working on some new stuff. We got a lot of good things happening. We appreciate y'all. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of it.
yeah, hope you guys got something out of it, you know what I mean? Treat each other, you know what I mean? It's safe on the res, man. Hey, this is hitting the res hard. I know it is, sister. You know what I mean?
Hey, put 'em on.
I put all you guys on blast, you know what I mean? You guys all, you know, you got toxic relationships. Nah, I just can't, man. But, you know, it's nothing but love. Like I said, you know what I mean? This topic was great for me. I hope it was great for you guys, you know what I mean? Grasping the definition of neglect and what you can do about it and what, you know what I mean, what the signs are for it. So
All you moms, all you parents out there that's getting ready to beat that little kid's ass for what he doing, hey, calm down, take a second, hey, relax, hey, remember, you know what I mean? We're here to help them become the best they can be, you know what I mean? Not to always, you know, break them or, you know, try to teach them or mold them into who we want them to be, you know what I mean? We gotta let them be them, let them be their authentic selves. Just how we would want somebody to let us be our authentic self. Our oh, dude, man. All right, man, we out of here, man. Appreciate y'all. Hey, and also, too, man, we build a rise. We hit that 1,000 mark, 1,000 followers, man. Appreciate y'all for real. We out.
yeah.